Okay, hello everyone. I'm recording this as a voiceover after the fact because things were a little bit noisy when I was doing all of this, but I got myself some new watercolour and gouache items. So these are all from Holbein, and I got the Holbein watercolour cube, which is a box with all 48 of the watercolour pans that they do. And you see here that I'm just looking through all of them, and as is usual with Holbein, we've got all the information such as the permanency rating. There are a few fugitive colours here. I'm just having a look through and pointing out a couple of them. So obviously Opera is notoriously fugitive, Emerald Green Nova, Drawn Brilliant, Indian Yellow, Olive Green, you know, those leaf green are all kind of getting 2 stars, which means moderately durable, but still probably not something you'd want to sell unless the buyer is very, very well aware of it. So this does come with a nice little swatch card saying that on the second layer there are these colours and on the third layer there are these colours. It's also a fair bit shiny and is a magnet for fingerprints. It's a nice durable plastic case on the outside. First layer gets you a little travel brush, which I haven't actually opened. I haven't found a need to get that one. A nice porcelain mixing tray that's got quite a few like waves and indentations. The trays are all made out of wood, whether that's solid wood or like MDF or something, I'm not 100% sure, but we've got all of the watercolour pans here. There's 6 per row and 4 rows per tray. Now this was a mistake because that one is meant to be at the top and I had such trouble getting it back out after that. And yeah, you can see me trying to get rid of some of the fingerprint marks on that one. But either way, these are the 48 half pans that Holbein currently do. Every single one available in this set. And obviously some of the smaller sets have fewer options just because. So these are also, I didn't actually realise this until after I started unwrapping them, but these actually do have magnets on the bottom, and it also has a little magnetic strip in each row, so these watercolours are very, very, very secure. So we've got all of the details on every single one of the wrappers. We've got the permanency rating, the pigments, the class that they belong to. I think it's from A to G, where A is the least expensive pigments used and G is the most expensive. I think in this set we don't have any of the really, really expensive ones. You can see me here just unwrapping the first one, finding the pull tab. And this is where internally I went, is like, oh, that is a very, very dark colour. It's like, no, that's not a colour. That is not a colour. That is the magnet that's on the bottom. So peel it out and there we have the half pans. So these are, as we can see just from how they're placed into the pans, these are extruded rather than poured in. So yeah, we can see, there we go, just me checking the magnets and everything all working as they should be. And also, thankfully, they do have all of the details available on the half pan itself. So even if you mix everything up, forget where everything is, you will still have those details available. That is going to be me unwrapping the rest of the half pans, and that's going to be on a time lapse, so I will be back shortly. Okay, here we go with all of the watercolours nicely unwrapped and all in place. So I'm just giving them a little bit of a spritz of water so that they can rehydrate, and I'll be able to pick up the pigment a bit easier. And then we'll be going into using the swatch card that Holbein ever so kindly provides for you when you buy this. So we can go through and have a look at all of them. I do also have a relatively inexpensive watercolour pad here. I bought some watercolour sizing, so I'm actually going to be trying that out on this paper and seeing if it makes much difference to the absorbency of watercolours. Now, the Holbein watercolours are said to not contain any dispersion agents, so they should behave more like traditional Japanese watercolours in that they should stay on the surface and be able to be moved around and manipulated before they sink into the paper, but with the transparency characteristics of more traditional Western watercolours. The watercolour medium itself is also meant to help with that, so we will be seeing how that actually works either in this video, depending on how this one goes, or in a future video. But either way, I'm just putting down some waterproof ink on the swatch section for the white, just so we can see how transparent that one is. I will be getting this ready in about a minute. Oh yeah, yep, gotta have the wash rag to clean off the rest or the excess paint. Here we go with swatch time. So there are definitely some colours here that I really appreciate. Some of them maybe not so much. For my personal preference, there's probably a few too many reds and yellows around, hardly any oranges, and I probably would have appreciated a couple more purples. The greens are all nice and good, but again, probably a really dark green would have helped with that one. And the blues, thankfully, there seem to be quite a nice variety of blues across the spectrum for that one, all the way from like your pale blues to deep ones, and also a few like leaning turquoise as well, so that is quite nice. This has definitely launched into my main desk painting set because of the way it's all compacts into a nice little box, but then you do also get the trays which you can take out and arrange on the desk, and it just makes everything very, very organised. Right, so this was a little bit of an extra thing that I wasn't initially intending to do, but I realised that having done all the prep work, it would have been very good to lay this out, because this is not only a test of the Holbein watercolours in general, but also in the purchase that I had this in, I also got some multi-sizing that I could apply to paper. So I'd gone through the pack of watercolour sheets that I had in the earlier video, left one of them untouched and coated all of the others with a bit of the multi-sizing mixed with warm water, as it said in directions that I found online, because the bottle is in mostly Japanese. And let me tell you that machine translation is not that good on it just yet. So I set up 2 pieces of paper. The first one here is the one without the sizing. It is 300 GSM or 140 pounds standard watercolour paper, as in cellulose, not cotton. So that will have an impact and effect on how well the paint goes down anyway, because obviously cotton paper is going to be better. And then the second sheet is exactly the same, just with some of the sizing put on and left to dry overnight. Spending a bit of time trying to figure out what I was going to test to paint, and then I decided, yeah, I'm just going to do the usual, and it's like fancy space galaxy settings, sunset or sunrise depending on your point of view, and then I decided to do a mountain view, which you'll see didn't end up too well because I did give up partway through because I was not getting the results and quality that I really wanted. So I wanted to see if that was because of the paper generally or if I needed a bit more practice. But we'll see with the second one in a bit, and I'll just delve into the time lapse for this one. So as we can see, I have been getting a bit frustrated with all of this. There are puddles of water laying everywhere, maybe because I've been a bit too heavy-handed with applying the water for the additional layers and washes. But I got to about this point and I just went, yep, I'm not feeling this. This isn't going how I want it to be. So I just took it off and stuck down the second piece of paper, divided this one into 2 pieces rather than 4, partly because I felt like I got a good feeling of how I wanted to work the second bit of paper, and also partly because I didn't have too much energy to really work on 4 little pieces, so I just applied it and sectioned it out into 2 pieces instead. I did more or less use the same technique as on the first bit of paper, and I ended up being much happier with this. Even though the end results weren't as good as I was hoping, this was pretty much just practice rather than anything I'd want to really show otherwise. I think honestly, just in terms of seeing how the colours go down, seeing how they flow and blend together, I think it ended up being quite a bit telling that even being just standard cellulose paper, the multi-sizing did definitely seem to have an impact. So I'll be using up some more of the sizing. I've got about 85% of the bottle left, and I've already coated quite a few different papers with it, so I'll be seeing how that all works out in the future. But for now, I'll just say enjoy the time lapse of the second set of paintings.